college right out of high school or continued your education right from school? Okay, that's awesome. Me personally, I didn't go to college right away. When I graduated high school, I was 18 and thought I knew everything. And I lived in instant gratification of the money I was making at my job then. And I didn't really think about tomorrow, what my plan was for the future. So, and as I grew older, I went back to school when I was 24, because I realized I wanted something more for my life. And that's why I really agree with this quote: "The best preparation for tomorrow is to do today's work superbly well," by Osler. I agree that how you act today will really help you in the future, and it applies more than just your education. It also applies to your attitude in the workforce or where you're working, and also the relationships that you have with your friends and family or just classmates. Well, first and foremost, like, education is very important. Like, if you want to have a good job or have a family and be able to raise them well and offer them a good life, you should further your education so you can get yourself a good job and be able to always support yourself. You don't want to have to rely on other people to support you. Second, I agree that how you act when you're working in your workforce, like if you have a negative attitude with coworkers or people around you, they're not going to want to do jobs with you or want to work with you. They're going to look at you as someone who has a negative attitude, and if you act like a rude to someone today, tomorrow they're not really going to want to give you a second chance. And then thirdly, I think it really matters how you act towards people in your everyday life, your friends and your family. Family, of course, blood is thicker than water, so they're probably going to forgive you a lot easier if you're rude to them. But if just a classmate or someone on the street, if you're rude to them, the next day that they see you, they're not really going to want to give you a second chance. So I really believe that this quote is true, that the way that you act in the moment of today really does matter, because people don't always give you a second chance the next time they see you for you to be nice to them. If the first instance that they meet you, you're negative or have a bad attitude, you might not get that second chance. So in the moment of today, you should always be positive and work hard, because it will prepare you for tomorrow, whether it's in your schoolwork, your job, or your relationships with people that you have. Thank you.
No, that's your souvenir for the day. All right, the opening was fine. You had a nice personal perspective on the topic. I like that. The transition to the topic was good as well. You set up the secondary points of the speech, so all of that's pretty solid. The development of the supporting material, I think, is a little bit less effective. You seem like you're rushing through the examples, and we don't really get very good or clear illustrations. At best, we've got some vague hypotheticals, and I think that you need something more particular that you can be talking about so that you can feel a little bit more engaged while you're speaking. Because sometimes it just feels like you're rushing through this and you're not really thinking about what the content is so much as you're trying to get all of the correct structural issues set up, which you don't have any problem with. The structural stuff is all fine, but the content, like I said, feels like you are rushing through it. It's not nearly as thoughtful as the opening was. I thought the introduction really suggests that there's going to be this more thoughtful approach to the subject, but there wasn't as much payoff on that. in the whole time that you're speaking, you sound almost like you're in a hurry, and you've got plenty of time. You can be a little bit more thoughtful, and that would give you a chance to emphasize some of the illustrations and really try and connect with the audience a little bit more. I do think that your facial expressions and eye contact compensate for that a little bit. You do have a couple of spots early on where your foot movement looks a little bit awkward. You're crossing at the ankles, that kind of thing. But that's the only thing that was distracting about the visual part of the presentation. It was primarily the auditory issues that I think created a problem. And at the end, again, showing that the organizational stuff is solid, you had a good summary and kind of a reminder of the point that you were trying to make. So even if you had a couple of problems here or there with presentation issues, you're still selling an idea at the end, and I like that. I thought that worked pretty well. Thank you. People who managed to get in. Not as many as I wanted. Why is this so? Let's squeeze in one more after Kyle then also before we do the test. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, piece of cake. Piece of cake. Are you kidding? Maria, we'll have you come get some topics and send Kyle in, please.